what does it mean to be like 10 years into a relationship and suddenly we both lived through not just the initiation, but this trauma, and like to honor that while still like being partners and being intimate and like all of that.
We don't talk about it. It doesn't get talked about. It's like we're just supposed to be who we were.
Yeah, just bounce back. It's fine. No, it's not fine.
I'm Mira Kaddoura, and this is Into Healing, Austin Edition.
Motherhood is its own initiation, one that reshapes every corner of who we are. In this episode of Into Healing, we sit with Abbi Miller, holistic strategist and founder of Workwomb, who helps women trust their bodies and avoid burnout. She shares what it means to heal while raising others, honoring our children's intuition, and reclaiming ourselves in the messy, miraculous work of becoming who we are. If you support our mission of giving everyone a way into healing, please consider becoming a paying member through our Patreon. Your generosity will help bring more meaningful conversations to the world.
Hi, Abbi.
Hi, Mira Mama.
Hi, love.
How are you?
I'm good. Glad to see you.
I'm so glad to see you, and I'm so grateful that you're here today. I so admire the way you parent, the way you lead, and the way you just show up in life. And I'm just grateful that we're going to dig into this conversation.
Thank you. Grateful to be here.
It's so interesting that we're literally having this conversation a morning after I barely slept, and it was, 2 kids in bed and not sleeping, and then still having to show up. And I feel like that's kind of what we're going to start digging into here on how we continue to show up no matter what is.
Totally. I'm like, what's different about this? I'm like, wait. And what's different? How is that an outlier from our normal life?
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. What was your journey? What was kind of like your inner journey into motherhood?
Kind of like we were saying before we hit record, I want to say there's always naivete before you enter anything you've never done, because there's only so much you can do. I mean, I read like all the books, it was like the birthing books and the postpartum and the herbalism, and like I was like so well read.
And they teach you nothing.
They teach you nothing. Like, I know how to make a great chamomile tea for whatever, But I it's interesting because I grew up, so my sibling is 10 years younger than me. So I was 10 when they were born. So grew up with a baby in the house. And then I
had that similar experience. My brother's 9 years younger.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. So you're like, oh, I know babies.
Totally.
I've been around babies.
Yeah.
And then grew up babysitting and nannying. So I was like someone who felt like I was like fluent in kids. I was like, oh, I speak kids. I get this. And then there's just something like we were talking about the other day. Like there's just something that cannot be read or probably transmitted in any other way that just has to be lived. And I think that one of my good friends and I always say that like Maid and Abbi didn't know shit. Can I swear?
Yes.
Okay. And yeah, I just think it's like, it's its own initiation. It's its own initiation. And I really, there was so much I did like nutritionally, my background's in nutrition. So I was like, I need to up my collagen and my glycine and like all these kinds of things. But I didn't, I was like, oh, I'll just like keep doing life with a baby on my hip. Like I didn't really like, you like buy some diapers, but I didn't really like get, I couldn't
the
prepare.
mental, emotional, physical shift. Right?
No,
like it's
no.
just
And I planned my own mat leave. I know we both work for ourselves. Like there were things like that I definitely had strategy around. But I think the actual, maybe this is a way to parse it out. Externally, like the diapers and the mat leave and the schedule and like all of these things, the hospital bag, because we ended up needing it for the home birth transport, like those kinds of things I did. But the like, who am I going to become? Mm-hmm. What is this going to ask of me? What am I letting go of? What is literally dying in front of my eyes? Mm-hmm. And the grief piece of that, unrelated to birth trauma, just the grief of that. Like, I don't know if there could have been a way to prepare.
Yeah.
And I know you just had Kate on, and like our connection to Nest and Bowl, like that community, I found that community years postpartum. And so I feel like, yeah, I mean, like anything, you know what you know. And, you know, when you know better, you do better, but, you know, like can't time travel. So
what surprised you the most?
I mean, I feel like the number one thing that surprised me the most was the nervous system hijacking that happens. And, you know, again, I'll never...
From a child, like when a child is
when
born.
your kid, the kid that you birthed, like, because I could babysit a kiddo that's having a hard moment, or like I felt like I was just like a chill babysitter in my 20s. You know, I was like, oh, you're upset. Let's snuggle. Let's figure it out. Like, I was never like stressed or freaked out. But then your own child could... want a shoe that they can't find. They're not bleeding. Nobody's projectile vomiting. It's like, it's literally like, these are low stakes. But because of how upregulated they are, I mean, I only have one kiddo. I can only speak to that. But that my whole body would start to mirror her upset. And I'm like, what is happening? This is about a shoe. But it's like this... Like, you can't it's not like it's so animal. Yeah. Like, you can't override it with, I mean, you know, there's breath work and things that I've learned, but I think that piece of it, and it's also so beautiful too. There's also the flip side of it where when my kiddo's experiencing like immense joy and wonder and giggling, it's like your whole body smiles, you know, in a way that I love all kids, but it's like deeper, you know? So I think that piece, and I know that's a little negative, but I think it's my truth, is just like how connected our nervous systems are.
Yeah. I think that shocked me too.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think anybody ever brought it up. Like, it wasn't even a thing.
No.
You know, like when they feel upset, how I literally feel that in my body. Like, that was like so shocking that happens.
Right. Have we become codependents with our children?
You know, I always go, I hope this is not the beginning of a codependent relationship, you know?
Right. When
where's that line, right? Like, how do you attune to this child and give them what they need? And how do you also not lose yourself? And it's like a fine line, right?
That's the question every day. That is the question every day.
Yeah. So just because I feel like we're going to get into a lot of like the mental, emotional, but even physically, what are some things that like surprised you about the physical shifts that happened in your body?
In pregnancy or just in the whole journey?
Like just in becoming a mother.
Yeah. You know, mine, again, I've only been pregnant once and obviously I can only speak from my experience, but my pregnancy was amazing. So, you know, we both have autoimmune and I felt like a queen. Like all my joint pain was gone. Like even my food allergies were gone. I was like eating blocks of cheese. I wasn't even serving it. I was like eating cheese because I felt phenomenal, like phenomenal. I'd be pregnant like 100 more times just because of like how it was just like, oh, you have 10 months of remission. This is great. So the actual experience of pregnancy wasn't very hard for me. Yeah, like I said, I really think I felt better. I had, you know, a couple weeks of morning sickness or something, but it was not rough. And then I think, because the question was like physically, what is it? Yeah, I think the birth, I mean, it's, you know, I always feel sensitive about how I talk about it. I know we have a young audience member, but I'll never know what it's like to have a non-traumatic birth. And we're done making babies, so there's not like a redemptive. So many mamas are like, "Oh, but the second baby." I'm like, "There's not a second baby," and it was like wild. I mean, okay, here a couple of things I did. I found this amazing trainer in Austin, and she specializes in prenatal postpartum fitness, and not like, oh, it's a little bit of movement, because I was doing all these like prenatal yoga classes and they were just like very gentle breath work. It was not satisfying. And I was like, I want to move. I want to sweat. And I have a dear friend, Chelsea, who was also a prenatal postpartum trainer. And she said, birth is an athletic event. She said, you wouldn't sign up for a marathon. I mean, maybe.
Without training. Yeah.
Totally. You're going to train for months. And she said, birth is the same way. And I love that. So I was lifting weights.
I felt the same way. I felt like I trained for my birth. What I didn't train for was post-birth.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always something. Always something. For just starting the narrative of the mother that's not. You forgot something. That's the narrative. Yeah. But yeah, so I was like lifting weight. I was jacked. We got all these growth hormones. I'm like bench pressing and deadlifting. Like I felt
so strong.
So
in
strong.
My pregnancy.
And I had a 30-hour, well, I guess it was 26 before we transpired. I had 26-hour home birth. Totally fine. Like hadn't slept in a day and a half. I had heard from so many moms how physically demanding it was. And that was the easy part. Like I didn't fatigue, holding crazy positions, hands and knees, all that. Like I never felt physically fatigued. But I think, then we had an emergency, we had a transport during COVID and cesarean. And so, I mean, just that, like the intensity of that surgery, like people do not talk about it. Like it is a major surgery. And like, it's like insane to go through that. And then, I mean, and then, or no, you don't know. You had vaginal. For some reason, I always think the twins were cesarean, but they were vaginal.
No. I ended up getting on a plane at 36 weeks so I can have a vaginal birth.
Was that when you left Lebanon, was to go back to LA?
No, that was, go back to LA was with Mira. I basically like left the US because everybody wanted to cut me open here. I left at 36 weeks to go to Lebanon, to birth in Lebanon, so I wouldn't get cut open. But everybody here, nobody would agree.
They wouldn't do it. Yeah, so I mean, for me, like that initially was the most shocking piece, was how physical motherhood was. Like just the cesarean and just like, it hurt to walk for 6 weeks, let alone hold my babe. And like just the physical intensity of, you've just had, I don't know, don't they say it's like 8 layers of tissue and fascia and organs and everything cut. And then, you're also not going to sleep. Nobody told me, but 2.5 years, you're not going to sleep. But you're not, like any other operation, you have drugs and you rest. And it's just like insane. I mean, parenthood is insane. It is insane. I don't care how the baby comes out. You're like, here's this thing that needs you, that you love. And you're co-regulated. You're wired. You're tethered.
Yeah.
And they're all yours and you're not going to sleep. Go. It's like, what? How is this legal? Where's my team? Where's my team? You're just like,
I know, because any other thing, you'd have a team, right? You'd have people supporting you. But it seems like it's one of the few things that you kind of have to figure out on your own, unless you have like a super community of some sort.
Totally. Yeah, I know. And then like postpartum, I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm like the representation, it's like the Scorpio in me. I'm like always representing the shadow side of things. And sometimes I feel like shame around it. Like I should just, when I have a pregnant friend, be like, yay, you're going to love it. And sometimes I'm like, okay, girl, let's talk. I'm like, when shit gets hard, call me. And also I don't tell people my birth story that are pregnant. I kind of feel like it's not going to serve them, but I'm always like, strengthen your body, take your vitamins, build your village, like all these things. And just so much, like I had tendinitis from because like part of the cesarean was it was hard to hold Will and nurse her. And then my autoimmune journey is that it affects my arms. And so part of, 6 months into motherhood, I couldn't use my arms. And so I like, again, I feel like everything about not pregnancy, but birth and postpartum, it was like the dial was turned to 10 because it was like, you were going for a home birth, hospital birth, cesarean. You had like this beautiful meal train set up and I had it in-home. My acupuncturist was like willing to come to my house. I had all of this like luxe self-care set up and it was all canceled because of COVID, and so instead it was just like me and Sam just like alone in a house. And eventually my mom came down, which was a blessing, but it was just like crazy. And just like, the tendinitis from because I had to lay and nurse because I couldn't hold Willa. And that's just like how we could do it. But then it was like, then I'm like nursing my arm that's like messed up. And it's just like all of the physical, you're like, how am I like falling apart while I'm like needed by this being? And, it's just wild. And I think like every mama that I know that's birthed has some, not the intensity that I had, but some part of it that was like incredibly surprising.
Yeah. I think one of the parts when I look back at that time, sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish I could repeat that without all the like recovery part and kind of adjusting to this big life change, because I feel there's so much of it that I probably would have enjoyed more if I didn't have, because it's like there's such preciousness in that time, and it's such a portal to like so much magic, but then you're literally transforming and peeling and all of that from this big life event that just happened that almost doesn't allow you to really enjoy those moments, until you get onto the other side. And, that normally happens maybe around the like 40 days to 2-month mark where you kind of feel somewhat stable again.
Is that when you feel stable?
Well, stable.
I'm still waiting for that.
No, I'm kidding. No, you're not feeling great, but you're like, okay, there's some rhythm here versus, at the beginning, I feel there's no rhythm whatsoever, right? Like everything's thrown off.
Totally.
And you kind of get into at least a rhythm of like nursing or, okay, here's somewhat of a kind of the pattern of sleep-wake thing.
Yeah.
There's something. There's
something
kind of,
that you get used to. And then I also feel like that also is the mantra of motherhood is the only thing constant is change. Because you're like, oh, okay, baby
once
sleeps
I got
like this,
it,
or baby
and then
nurse
it changes.
is like, yes. And it's just like, oh my God. You're like, what? And that was like a huge piece. Maybe I said this to you, but that was a huge piece of me going back to work at 6 months, because I was kind of like with my arms and COVID and everything, I was debating if I wanted to. But for me to go back to work, which was like 3 hours, I went like maybe 9 hours a week, like 3-hour days, a couple clients, it was like, it felt like time traveling, because it was the only place in my life that I felt like I recognized myself.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But then so much has changed and you're still expected to show up in the same way. And then that adjustment too. Where it's like, yes, you recognize yourself, but also you're not the same person that you were 6 months ago.
Totally. I know. I feel like there needs to be a reintroduction to all relationships. Like, hello, it's me, but it's not. Do you know what I mean? Like, what has changed? Like, we just, all of it. Like, your priorities, how it feels to live in your body, your relationship to your partner and your family, like everything, like all of it. I also think like, if we allow it, it's also just so, it can be an opportunity to give ourselves permission to evolve.
Oh, yeah,
but sure. I think that it often can feel, at least, again, I can only speak personally, but I had a lot of shame around the ways that I was evolving, or the ways, like just even for me, my, again, there was just so much trauma for me that I had a lot of shame around.
Why didn't it not happen the way I wanted? Or
or just like my relationship, and also the world was on fire. It's like, my relationship
the world
with
is
hope.
still on fire.
I was like, wait, has anybody hosted off? No. My relationship with hope or trust or like something deeper, And then sometimes it's like, sometimes I think maybe I got the birth I needed or something, because anything I had an extreme belief around, I just got like bitch slapped to the opposite side. It was like, I want a home birth. My painkiller is going to be lavender oil. And it was like, the universe was like, okay, let's give you 26-hour home birth. Let's transport you. I mean, we were told Will died. Like, we couldn't get a heartbeat for the 30-minute transport because they called an ambulance. And then our midwife was like, everybody's been coughing. Like, it was her first transport during COVID. And so they canceled the ambulance. So Sam drove us to the hospital. He like ran every red light, and she couldn't get a heartbeat. And when we pulled up to the hospital, she said, you're going to have surgery and we're going to process the grief. That was the last thing my midwife said to me. So, I mean, just like wild.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was wild. I feel like maybe... it's interesting going into birth. Like, if you had asked me in 2019, I probably would have said, I don't trust the healthcare system, or I don't trust hospitals. And like, I don't want to intervene birth. I don't want to medicalize birth. I don't trust it. And then it's what saved me. And now I'm like, and again, I of course would have so much gratitude for emergent care in hospitals.
Of course. But I mean, you have a car accident, you're not going to a naturopath. You know?
I'm not going to my herbalist to
Yeah.
like, yes. Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's wild how it shapes you.
Yeah. I want to get a little bit into kind of, okay, we've become mothers. We get into our roles as parents. And we often, like, I know before I became a mother, I always thought, like, I'm going to be this guide and I'm going to, like, really help support my kids and guide them on this journey. And I think one thing that's really surprised me is how much they've guided me, you know, and I'd love to talk about that. Like, how have you kind of navigated that path of like guiding, but also listening to Willa's, you know, her own, you know, what she's trying to teach you, and how you've navigated that? Because I think there's something so beautiful when we let kids teach us as well.
Yeah.
We're not only teaching them, right?
Yeah, totally. And it's wild how you just show up fully who you are, like fully programmed. Like Wilhelmina, pre-verbal was, you know, it was lockdown, so we didn't go anywhere, but we would walk 4 steps to get the mail. And literally before she was even really making many sounds at all, if you touched the door and you didn't have her in your hand, she would scream. And at first we were like, oh, she fell or she got pinched. We couldn't figure it out for weeks. And then we were like, it's every time you touch the doorknob. Without her, she screams until you pick her up and you take her outside. And I was like, oh my God. And now she goes to like an outdoor school and we pick her up from school. We come home. It'll be like, whatever, 110 out. And I'm like, do you want like a popsicle or a smoothie? And do you want to read books? She's like, no, I'm going to play outside. And it's like, yeah, she just showed up exactly who and how she is. And I think it's our opportunity, privilege, honor as parents to like excavate that. And I think that also is was a surprise for me. They aren't just like these blank canvases that you're like, oh yes, I'll paint on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're like, bitch, here's the paints. These are the colors you have to work with. You don't get to choose.
Yeah, you better like it. Yeah. Totally.
And like, just, it's been so wild to like witness that. And also like all these decisions, you know, and maybe birth was one of them that Will co-created with me, but the decisions around, you know, where she goes to school and all these things, like even we've talked, like I want to homeschool and we haven't entered that chapter, but Willa is such an extrovert. She's such an extrovert. She likes to be outside. She likes to be with people. And you know, like you have your own agenda and you have your own preferences. Like my preference would be that I pick her up and we like have this snuggle puddle and like read all these books and have snacks. But she just wants to keep going. Like she just wants to keep going. And you're like, oh, it's actually my job to listen. And even like scheduling, I think, okay, she's 5. She has her whole life to be busy. I'm not going to schedule her. We're just going to like I said, come home and chill. And I'm like, no, this girl wants an activity every day. Like she actually wants to be doing all this stuff. And who knows, maybe if I had a second kid, I'd have a total introvert and we'd navigate that. But like, it's so fascinating. Like they're telling you if you listen, you know, but it's like, I think it's just also like, do we like what they're telling us and being willing to, learn from them. And they're going to ask us of things that we are uncomfortable with or that are an edge for us. And like just honoring that and listening to that, I think is, that's huge.
So how do you navigate that? Because there's your intuition as a mama and knowing what's right.
Yeah.
And then there's their intuition.
Yeah.
And how do we navigate that?
Yeah. I mean, you know, Will's still so small that we haven't had like really big clashes around something that I would say I had an intuitive hit against. You know, I'm thinking like, gosh, when she wants to start having sleepovers, like, is that going to be a thing where I'm like, that's a hard no at that person's house? Or, you know, like, but I feel like it's, at least now it's like smaller things, you know, activities she wants to do or food she wants to eat or these kinds of things. And it's like, I think at the end of the day, it's like any relationship. It's like, how do you just express what you both are experiencing and wanting? And I feel like that's something I think about all the time is like, how do I teach her that her intuition is the most important thing?
So how do you?
While still parenting and still being like, no, you can't do that. You've had a lot of sugar. We're going to, you know what I mean? Like, how do you? And I think at least for me, I try to bring it into the room. So like if I'm trying to think of an example of like an intuition example with Willa. something. Well, I'll just share. Like there was like a season where it was very funny. Again, total. I mean, you know her, total extrovert. And there was just a season where she didn't want to do things. She was like, I don't want to be alone with that person. I don't want to go to this camp. I don't want. And it was pretty global. It wasn't just like one person. It was kind of like she just had a little introverted moment. And instead of being like, well, you always go to this dance class, or like, we're signed up, I was just like,
Okay.
oh, you don't want to go? Like, what's that feel like? And she was just like, I don't want to. And she didn't really have words for it. But I just said, does it just not feel like you want to go? She's like, no. And this wasn't like I don't want to go to school. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it felt bigger than that. And I just was like, okay, let's trust your gut. And we talked a lot, like the other day, about animals. I said, what do you think, like, if a fox was in the woods and it heard a stick break and its ears perk up and it just runs into the woods, what would you think it's doing? She was like, oh, it would be scared because there's like a big animal. I said, yeah, but like what's happening? How does it know there's a big animal? Because it doesn't see it. And she goes, I don't know. It just knows. Like, I don't think she used the word instinct, but she was just like, yeah, like, and then I kind of gave her that word. I said, yeah, I think it's its animal instinct. Like, it has that kind of sensitivity and knowing. And I said, that's intuition. That's your gut. And so we kind of talked about animals. And I said, sometimes you might feel that as you grow up. You might feel like if you're around someone, just like, oh, I kind of want to get out of here. And I was like, listen to that. And it's like, yeah, we said this the other day. How do we teach them to trust their intuition without being like, the world is terrifying.
Without
You're a
scaring
young,
them.
beautiful creature, be scared. Yeah. How do you do that? And, I mean, again, can't say I've perfected it, but I know for me, even if there are times where I have to override it, really listening, like, and that she gets to practice, like naming it feels big to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even like the other day, yesterday, we were at her preschool graduation pool party, and there was one pink cookie, and Will wanted it, and her friend wanted it, and there was only one. And I just hear like, and I was like, okay. And I come over, I was like, what's happening? And, they're both crying, and Will's trying to like stuff it in her mouth, and the friend's crying. And I was like, oh my God. And I was just like taking the cookie. I was like, let's have a breath. And I was just like, hey, can you guys tell? And they were both like, I want that. And I just said, okay, can you both tell me what you want? And so her friend was like, I want the pink cookie. And I was like, well, what do you want? She's like, but I had it. And I was like, yeah, but tell me what you want. She was like, I want to eat the pink cookie. I was like, wow, you both want to eat the pink cookie. It's like something about saying that kind of like softened things a little bit. And then I said, how do we fix this? And just like narrating it. And eventually I said, gosh, it seems like kind of the only two options would be that nobody gets it or that we share it, because we're at a party and there's shared food. And Will was like, nobody gets it. I was like, okay, maybe that's what we need to do. And I just said, are you open to me telling you a story? And I feel like that's something that I love about Will is I always try to ask her before I like give her feedback. Like, would you be open to this? And because sometimes when she's crying, I'll say, do you want to hear why like, let's say I say she can't have ice cream and she's crying. Like, I'll say, do you want to hear why I said no ice cream, or do you just need to be sad for a minute? And sometimes she's like, I just need to be sad. And I'm like, I'll hold you and let's be sad. Because I feel like so much of trusting your gut is like allowing yourself to feel how you actually feel. And yeah, so that's like a piece of it. So she's crying with the cookie. And then I just said, hey, are you open to hearing what I'm noticing? She said, yeah. And her friend, I mean, Will loves clothes. Her friend shares clothes. This is a school friend that Will comes home wearing her clothes every day, like rummaging through her backpack. And I just said, I just noticed Simone shares so much with you. Like, I noticed she just says yes to sharing so much. Like, how would that feel to be that person for her? And then Will was like, okay, we could share the cookie. It was like this moment. But I think it's like, it's so easy to be like, oh, just share the cookie. And just be like, oh my God, like, this is so annoying. But like in that moment to be like, wait, what would it take for me as an adult to cry over sharing something? That would have to be something I really wanted. You know what I mean? And because we can look at it and be like, dude, it's a pink cookie from the grocery store, we can kind of discredit their feelings or something. And it's like, it's real. They're both sobbing. Like, they were upset about it. And I think like that's something that I'm efforting to do, is to like validate what she's feeling. Because if she feels like, A, what I'm feeling is real, nobody's saying you're overreacting or it's just a cookie or all these things that you're probably thinking. But allowing her to just feel it is like giving her the gift of trusting her intuition, her experience of life, so that my hope is that later on, again, I'm not a parenting coach over here, but that later on, maybe there will be an opportunity where she'll say, hey, I want something that's kind of inconvenient right now, but I'm not going to give up on it because it's real for me and it matters to me,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the piece where you said, like, do you want me to explain, or do you just want to, or do you just want to be upset?
Yeah.
Maybe tell me a little bit more about that, because I love that. I love the kind of the part where it's not only honoring, you're obviously giving her space to kind of feel her feelings, but you're also teaching her, like, you're teaching her that what she's going through matters, that, you know, that she has a valid reaction. I feel like we're so good about, like, don't cry, it's fine, get over it.
We'll get one tomorrow.
All of that. It's like we shut down emotion so easily. And maybe talk to me a little bit more about how you practice kind of allowing her to be in all her messiness.
Yeah, I think the do you want to feel it thing is, I heard somewhere, probably on some podcast, that, if you shout at a kid, like, let's say a kid's climbing on the counter and you don't want them to, you're like, stop, get down or something. And there's just like an upregulated response that their animal body is going to start to go into fight or flight. And so maybe you're saying, get off the counter because there's a sharp knife, or I broke glass, or you're saying something very wise, like, hey, it's not, like, please don't hurt your body. But because you've shouted at them, they're actually in fight or flight, and they're not going to hear anything you say. And they're not, maybe they'll hear it, but they're not going to absorb it. They're not going to anything. And that it's actually really ineffective. And so that's something Sam and I talk about, is like, we will shout if Will's running into moving traffic, which she has yet to do. But, like, there's a time and a place to be like, I have to scream to get your attention because you're, like, not okay. But, like, once a year, you know what I mean? Like, that's not like a frequent thing. But otherwise, to say, like, to actually invert it. So if you catch the kid, I'm making this up, climbing on the counter and there's broken glass on the counter, to say, hey, can you please get down? And, like, quickly, hey, I need you to get down. And then to say, hey, there's glass, and explain what's going on. Then they can actually hear, and there's, like, a learning moment. But, or, the glass.
And the trick is for you to stay calm in that moment, instead of you being triggered or being, reacting to what you're witnessing.
Yeah, if we're always treating our kids like dogs and, like, shouting at them, they're just going to learn, like, I'm in trouble, I'm in trouble, I'm in trouble. Whereas if we're able to, like, meet them and explain it, and I just think our kids get it. They get it. And it doesn't mean Will always likes it. I could explain why she can't do something or can't have candy or whatever, and she's like, okay, she's going to go climb the counter and eat the lollipop because that's her. But that's something that that has stuck with me, is are you actually open to hearing what I'm saying? Because think about if I just, like, walked up to you, and I'm trying to think of, like, some random, like, what's something I would, I don't have the desire to critique you, but what if I was like, oh, do you know, actually, I learned something about that brain, or, like, whatever, like, I'm, like, critiquing your brain.
We don't talk to people that we respect. I find a lot of adults talk to kids in a way that they would never talk to a friend.
Yeah.
And you're like, why are you, I talk a lot with my kids about respect. Like, was that a respectful, well, like, for example, say I do raise my voice. I'm like, oh, that was not really respectful. Let me try that again,
Yeah.
Like, we talk a lot about respect because I want them to know that it's not okay to just, hear somebody scream at you or, just take it or whatever,
Yeah, totally. And I think I learned this from Janet Lansbury. Do you know her work? Yeah. And she said something about, like, the roles of the family. I'm pretty sure this was her that said, like, your job as the parent is to keep your kiddos safe, to keep them healthy, and of course to, like, love them and support them. But the kiddos' experience, or the kiddos' role in the family, is to, like, be truly themselves and, like, feel what they're feeling and be who they are. And so I noticed that if I'm always telling Will what to do, or I'm always giving immediate critique or feedback, again, outside of, like, bodily injury, it's like just because I'm saying it doesn't mean she's receiving it. So I notice, especially when she's upregulated, if she's crying because we had to come home from the park because it's dinner time and she didn't want to leave. And it's like she's crying and I'm like, well, we have dinner and it's late and you have a thing and we have to get up. Or like that doesn't land. But if I'm like letting her cry and I'm just like, hey, that was hard to leave the park. Do you want to hear about why we had to leave? Or do you just need to feel sad? Like I say that, I mean, you'll probably notice it now. I say it like 20 times a day. I'm like, do you want to hear about X or do you just need to feel sad? Because most of the time she kind of looks at me and she, like, I think just even me naming the feeling, like, do you need to feel mad? Do you need to feel sad? Do you need to feel disappointed? Sometimes she's like, oh, mom understands I'm disappointed. And then she'll kind of like, I think I want to hear. And then I feel like I can tell her and she's like, we're like having a conversation.
Yeah, she's open to it.
And then I don't feel defensive like, dude, we left the park because I have to cook for you because you have low blood sugar and you're freaking out. It's like, then I feel defensive about like, wait, I'm trying to help you.
Well, you're also, when we get into that defensive or that like, we're being triggered, right?
Yeah.
We're feeling stressed, we're feeling triggered, we're feeling like if we don't get them home right now, they're not gonna sleep till 9 p.m., it's all gonna spiral. And all that comes from also programming as kids, right?
Yeah.
Like there's something that just happened that triggered something inside of us, that's allowing for this reaction to happen instead of like, okay, I'm not going to react in this way that like creates more fight or flight, creates more anxiety and stress, and I'm going to actually like try to calm myself. And what would I say as a calm adult,
Totally.
Because I feel like once I'm dysregulated, everything spirals out of control.
Absolutely. And then you're just kind of like playing triage instead of actually having a teaching moment. Because also it's like, if we have to leave the park and she's just pissed, it's like, dude, maybe you just need to cry for 5 minutes and that's okay. And we're still going to leave and we're still going to go. But like, I don't need to tell you about why we're leaving. It's like, why? It's like, I almost think I'm doing it for me so that I feel like I'm not a bad mom or something. It's like, this is why we're leaving, but to be able to say it later. And sometimes like, it doesn't happen very often these days, but sometimes when it does say, I just need to be sad or I just need to cry, sometimes, if she's sad, usually I'll say, do you want a hug or something? But if she's mad, I'll kind of just like give her a little space. But then just even then coming back later and saying, hey, I wanted to check in about that. Like, this is what, I was kind of feeling like I wanted to explain what happened. Are you open? And almost always she says yes. But I've noticed how this carries over into my work and how as a strategist, when I work with someone, I'm like, I want to make a plan and I want to really like provide value. And it's easy for me to like kind of go that way. And instead, actually, like I'm saying, excavating, how are you today? How was your morning? Did you sleep? Were your kids pushing you off the bed? Like, how are you in this moment? And like letting that all be present and letting that be seen, because it's like if somebody's stressed out and they're like highly caffeinated and it's been like an insane day, to just jump into strategy, it's like, it's not actually serving them. Yeah. And I think like,
and you want them to calm down before you start like getting into the planning brain. You want their body to settle.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, this is actually universal, like in all of my life. Like, how do we allow for who we are, what we're feeling, being seen, and letting that like essentially downregulate? I mean, unless you're like super bummed and you need to upregulate, but in general, you know what I mean? Like how that can, because I think it's, it's like that saying, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And I've been thinking about that a lot. Like, how, isn't that all we all want, is to feel seen and to be like, oh, wow, you did not sleep. Your kids were pushing you out of the bed. Like, you made it here. You look beautiful. You look energized, and you're like, oh, So yeah, I guess I want to say, I think back to like, what are they teaching us? I feel like so much of what I have been called to learn and craft as a mama is so applicable to all of my life beyond those micro moments of parenting with the conflict over the pink cookie, and for myself, for how I self-parent, like just allowing myself to have an experience before I like jump into productivity mode, and like I have a tenet in my work called Body Before Biz, where we do just that. It's like, what do you need? Do you need a breath? Do you need rose water? Just like allowing that, because I feel like that little shift can change everything, in biz and mamahood, all of it.
Yeah. I've been on this train where I say to the kids, we're a family where everybody's needs get met, and Mama has needs, and right now I need to go to the bathroom. Like
Yeah, I love that.
I'm not always like, yes, I'll do whatever you need, but I need to also take care of me because I think they just don't think about it. They don't think about it.
They're like, wait, you have a bladder? Wait, that's crazy. Moms have bladders? But then also they don't just learn from what we say, they learn from who we are, So for you to prioritize self-care and whatever it looks like I believe is also a gift to our kids.
Yeah.
To be able to have role models for that and for it to be normalized in culture of family of origin and all of that.
Yeah, for sure. I want to get into a little bit, we talk about the act of becoming a mother as such a solo event in a way. And it has such huge effects on everything. We talked a little bit about work and how we're expected to show up as if, we have not been changed. One thing that I don't think gets talked about enough is its effect on the couple, on how it changes. I mean, you literally are becoming a different human, but then you're still in the same couple.
Yeah.
And walk us through a little bit your journey in that respect. How does the couple evolve after you become a mother?
Yeah, in every way. I feel like we should Google if there's a term because there's matrescence. But I'm like, what? And there's probably one for, is it putrescence? Would it be the same for me? But what is it for a couple?
Yeah.
Because you now are there's three of you, So it's like not only is there an addition to your relationship, but you have these you used to be lovers and friends, and now you're also parents and caretakers and all of that. I mean, I think it's wild. And again, I can only ever speak from personal experience, but I think that is something that is not talked about. And it's talked about, like we said the other day, it's talked about when you have a friend getting divorced because they're like, this isn't working anymore. And you're like, oh, okay. And then when you talk to them, it's kind of parenthood was the catalyst or the way that I shouldn't, again, not making it about the kid, but that initiation was the catalyst. And that season of life was you worked in your maiden phase, but in your mother phase and father phase, it was not working. And I'm like, who outside of couples therapy, who is doing that work? Because I mean, Sam and I talk about that all the time. We're just the ways that we used to spend time together, the ways that
the priorities,
all of it.
I mean, it was work and your partner. Those were the priorities. And then now there's house stuff to do, kids stuff to do. There's all these things that take priority, over your partner.
Totally.
Which is kind of sucks in a way because you lose what you had, right? And it becomes this different thing.
Yeah, and it shape shifts, where I was saying before motherhood, I get pretty intense cramps on my cycle. So when I would bleed, I have an app and Sam was in the app, so he'd get the alert. And, I'd come home and he would have a lavender diffuser on and put out chocolates and, a romance novel and a blanket. Literally I would come home and it would be set up for me. I was a queen. I was treated like a queen, And it was just and a heating pad, I was like, oh my God. And so it was almost this sweet, and I already was someone that cycle synced and took the first day of my bleed off and, as much as one can. But, so it was this really sweet moment of him caretaking me, and I just felt very loved, and it probably helped my pain too to just have that. And then now it's now his version of that. Sometimes I have a little a little my feathers are ruffled because I'm where's my fucking chocolate? Where's my heating pad? But it's his way of doing that is taking Will to the park for an hour. So that I can lay by myself and still read the book or eat the chocolate, but I have to go get it myself because he's taking the kid to the park. And it's he actually is still doing the same thing. He's still saying, I see you and I love you. But the reality is, for me to have time alone, that's what it takes. And so there is grief. There's grief in that. And also, he can't, maybe he could set up chocolate and a diffuser and then take Will to the park. We'll send him this episode. But it's it does just change.
Yeah.
The way
and not only does it change, but it's even though his way of caretaking and loving you is to take her to the park and take her away and give you time to rest, he does come back and he's upregulated probably from being at the park. So he comes back and he's not the most calm, collected partner.
Right.
But then you're still in your like, I just need to rest.
Yeah.
And that dynamic of like them,
Yeah.
maybe him expecting you to now like,
You got your
put the
time. It's my
child-
turn.
Yeah, it's my turn. And you're like, wait, what? I'm still feeling really
still- yeah.
crummy and shitty. And,
Yeah.
you know?
I know that a couple nights ago, I just ate something weird and I thought I was going to throw up, and we co-sleep. So I'm like in bed and I like get up and Will keeps being like, Mom, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm going to the bathroom. I feel sick. And I didn't get sick, but I was just sitting there and it was so cute because she was like, Mama, I'll just get you a bowl. Like sometimes when she's sick, we'll have a bowl. She's like, I'll just get you a bowl and you can just lay in bed. And she was like rubbing my arm. She's like, you can just lay in bed. You don't have to sit in the bathroom. And I was like, you know what? I think I do just want to sit here. And she's like, well, while you're here, would you read me a book? I was like, oh my God. I was like, and I was literally like trying to read her this book, like feeling like I was going to be sick. And I was just like, I wish that there was a hidden camera right now, because this is it. You're like still mothering, even when you like maybe have food poisoning, you know, you're still doing the thing. Oh my Lord. Yeah. But yeah, the couples thing, I just think, I think we're definitely in the thick of asking what has changed. And I know like just even physically for me, having had a cesarean, you know, we didn't like touch for so long, like let alone have any intimacy, because it was just like
Too painful.
painful. And then by the time it wasn't really painful, when it was uncomfortable, literally just to have any weight on it, and anytime anything would touch it, like an elbow or anything, it was like immediate, because it's so connected with the trauma, you know? So I think that there's been like, in a lot of ways, I feel like I have a totally different body and a totally different like sex life and a totally different, just all of it. It's all so different. And I think that's something I've had to advocate for. I don't know how much we want to say on this podcast. I don't know how far you want to go. But just being like, I'm not the lover you used to have. Like my body is different. And even like, sometimes I feel like even sexually, like if you're always kind of chill, you know, you have a hard day or you're sick or whatever, but in general, you're kind of like just doing life. It's like, if you're here, having sexy time is like here. But if you're here and then you're a mom and you've not slept and your kid's freaking out and your body's in pain and you're healing from cesarean, you know, like you're here and then your partner's like, come on. And you're like, oh my God, do you know how many steps I have to take to even get anywhere near here? And it's like, you're still sexy. I still love you. I still want all these things. But it's like, no. I'm like on the basement floor you're like on the penthouse. And it's just like, we're just not even in the same floor. You know what I mean? And it's like that piece of it, that learning how to talk about that is, at least for us, has been like fascinating, super hard. We're figuring it out. But like, do you relate? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Yeah. And people talk about like, 6 weeks after you can have sex, but nobody's talking about like, just again, the nervous system piece of, and also like being touched out or having.
Oh my God.
Just being like, if you're going to touch me, could you actually just rub my shoulders?
Could you rub my back? Yeah, I know.
Do you know what would be really sexy? Just will you rub my neck? We're both fully clothed. And then when you're done, will you fold the laundry? Thank you. That is so hot. Thank you.
Oh my God.
You know, it's like, and then I think, at least for Sam, and you know, I don't want to speak for him, but I know even like once I was out of pain and we were like intimate again, it was like, he was like, I don't know who you are. Like, and it was like, you know, and I just, because I was so like sensitive and all of it, I think he was like my old tricks aren't working over here, you know? And I think like, who's talking about this? Who's like meeting with couples and like, what does it mean to be like 10 years into a relationship and suddenly, we both lived through not just the initiation, but this trauma, and like Sam has trauma around it, and like to honor that while still like being partners and being intimate and like all of that, you know? Yeah. I mean, yeah.
We don't talk about it. It doesn't get talked about. It's like we're just supposed to be who we were.
Yeah, just bounce back. It's fine. No, it's not fine. Yeah.
It's so fascinating. And this conversation, like this whole topic is so fascinating.
Yeah. Maybe we need to start like a couple matressa. I don't know what it would be called. We have to ask the internet. but like some kind of, but because it doesn't need to be like, because I don't think Sam and I need therapy. I mean, my husband is a therapist. I love therapy. I'm pro therapy. We could do therapy. That's fine. But it's more niche. It's like, you know, when you, like, I went to postpartum and birth trauma therapists in 2020, you know, like I was like, I need someone who like gets this. And so it's like, I feel like a program, some kind, you know, you do like a CPR class and a first aid class as a parent, or, you know, car seat safety trainings. But it's like, who's joining couples that don't maybe outwardly feel like they need therapy? And who's like, hey, you've been through this thing, you know, even if you had a peaceful, joyful birth, it's like, you're so changed now.
Yeah.
And who's walking through like your relationship?
The initiation, right? The
Yes.
whole initiation into this. And we don't, it happens. And then we kind of try to get by, and nobody's really like honoring that, like there was this big shift. And I feel like also the point of view of each partner is never visible, you know? It's like I'm not able to really, I mean, you're so in the thick of it, right? You're never able to even sit. I mean, this conversation we're having right now, like be able to sit and say, you know, how does this feel for you now? How is this, you know, what do you need? What do you not need? How can I do better? How can I support you? Like we don't have these conversations post having children. We just expect things to go as they once were. And you're like, I'm exhausted right now, and I'd like you to acknowledge that I'm exhausted. But, you know, sometimes they're just maybe unaware or something, you know?
Yeah, and you're both in it. You're both going through it. So it's, I think you're caretaking the child or children, and then you're caretaking each other.
And yourself.
Yeah, I feel like that. Sometimes I feel sad for Sam because I think I prioritize Willa, and especially with me with like my journey of autoimmune and chronic pain, it's like I have to prioritize me. And it's not even like, you know, on paper, it's not even that much. It's like a 20-minute sauna or a cold plunge or a 20-minute yoga. You know, I'm not like, it's not crazy, but it's like, I mean, that's sad to say out loud, but it's like if I have 20 minutes, I'm going to go move my body. I'm not going to be like, hey, Sam, let's go sit and drink tea for 20 minutes. I just am not. Like, it's like you have to fill your own cup first. And then sometimes it's like, oh, there's the day, you know, and the grief of something that one of my friend, Samantha Joe, she's amazing. She's like a sexuality and pleasure coach, and she works a lot with moms. And she talks about microdosing pleasure. And I love that so much because like the example of I used to have like a 2-hour morning, you know, I'd meditate for 1 whole hour. Can you imagine?
Oh my God.
And then I would do like an hour yoga or an hour walk with a girlfriend.
I mean, I used to do 2.5-hour yoga classes.
Oh my God. It was like my sword. You're just doing it all. Yeah. You have this long morning flow, you know, and now it's like, I can't believe how amazing a 20-minute online yoga video is. I'm just like, oh, a video, that's my age. But like, I'm like, so I can feel the down regulation. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. 20 minutes, you know? But I think permission to microdose that, you know? And same with Sam. It's like something I've talked to Samantha, the pleasure coach, about is like those micro moments. Because Sam and I don't get a whole Saturday to just play and go into town and have a picnic and see a movie and shop and snuggle and all of that. So it's like, how do we like see each other in the kitchen and go, hi, and like have a little smooch or like have those little moments, you know? And because I think if you wait, at least for me, if I wait for that big window of time, I'll probably be 70, or at least will be 18 before I get that again. Yeah. And there's so much grief in that, right? Like,
there is, yeah.
And also if you wait for that to like find joy, pleasure, connection with your partner, like it'll never happen. So it's like, how do you microdose it into your day?
I feel there's so many layers of grief, right? There's the grief of like who you once were and who you become, right?
Yeah.
And I remember it took me so long to get to where I was.
Yeah.
And I really liked who I was,
Me too.
you know? And then I had to like relearn to like this new person, right? That I became. And then also there's the grief of like, okay, your relationships now change. What is it? And how does it become something that you also love?
Yeah.
You know, versus, I mean, that's why people get divorced, because they just kind of go their separate ways.
Yeah.
But it's like, how do I also put in the work to like and have time to put in the work, right?
Yeah.
To make this something that I'm really also still excited about.
Yeah.
And then there's the parenting, you know, where there's this
Yeah.
whole like just transformation that happens. And, you know, I mean, there's only so much time, and the kids, especially when they're young, they take so much of your time, and juggling that and work. It's like the couple becomes almost like third on the list, which is quite sad, you know?
Yeah.
Especially if you really like enjoyed your part, you know, like you had a really good thing, you know?
Totally. I know Sam and I just talk all the time. We're like, what did we do all day? What
Like
did we do?
Saturday we'd get up and like at 11 and roll to go to brunch.
Yeah. We used to have a shtick where like Sam hated, we had so many squirrels where we used to live. And it was like a shtick where he like named them all and he would like chase them. Like it was, he would have videos that people would follow me on Instagram to see the squirrel content.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, that's what we were doing. We were making squirrel content. Like we had squirrel time, like not happening. But I mean, you know, as much as there is grief too, I will say there is so much discernment back to intuition of just like what is and isn't deserving of your time. Because everything that you want is not possible in the amount of time you have. So you get real discerning real fast.
Yeah. I feel that too. Like there's just things that are on the chopping block and have to go. And I think you also start like really valuing time and who you spend your time with and, you know, where you put your time. And, you know, when I'm working, I'm like hyper efficient because it's like, here's the time I have, you know, where before it's like, I could stay up till who knows what time, you know, working on stuff. But it's like, nope, this has to get done in this amount of time. There's no like, I used to chit chat so much, you know, like all the go out and have a little chat or do this or have a coffee or have a tea or, you know, and all that kind of gets cut a little bit, you know, because you're like, there's no time. So what are the priorities? You know?
Yeah.
You become really good, which I think is actually a good thing. Like I don't miss I feel like I wasted
small
time.
talk with strangers always.
All that, like the you filled time because you had it, and now there's no like filling time. It's very intentional.
Right. Yeah, and like to piggyback on that outside of just relationship with partner, like with friends, I also notice the friends that see me as who I am now. Like we have dear friends who don't have kiddos, and they were one of the few friends during the pandemic that really made an effort. They got it. It's like we had a newborn. I was not doing okay. We were still kind of like quarantining, you know, we didn't have any data. And these were the friends that were like, we're going to mask up. We're going to sit in your front yard in 108-degree weather and we're going to bring you food. And we're going to talk to you and we're going to sweat our face off and you matter to me. You know, where other people are like, do you want to go to a cafe? I'm like, no. I have a newborn. I couldn't use my arms. I couldn't drive. I was like, I can't push a stroller. Like just the people that were like, I see you. And just like those little things, it meant so much to us. And I think still to this day, it's like, I really notice, especially people that don't have kids, when they're like, hey, I'll come to you. Or like, you know, I had a new friend that wanted to hang out. And I was like, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm either momming or working. And I said, if I'm working, I'm on calls. And if I'm momming, I'm free, but I'm with a 5-year-old wild wolf. And she's like, that's great. Like, I'll meet you at the park. Let's go meet at the park. And I was like, I love that you said that.
Yeah.
Instead of me trying to like find a sitter, you know, because like the other piece of it is feeling like I also don't get enough time with Wilhelmina.
Totally.
And Sam.
You want to, when you do have the time, you want to be with your kid. You don't want to like, if I'm done working, I want to be with the kids. You know, they're away all day. It's like, I want to spend time with them. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and just also like how little, you know, being in the States now, like how little of this country is built around families. It's nuts. I think it's like, we have to create it and we have to advocate for what we want and the spaces that, that feel family friendly and honor who we are and what we need and all of it. And I think, that's the thing I'm over. I'm over like, oh, let me just get a sitter and we'll hang. I'm like, I can do that. There, you know, if there's a fun event or something a concert or something that's later. But in general, I'm like, I actually want more integration. You know, like I love that we get to hang and our kids are like climbing on each other and it's
like I don't have to separate. I don't have to pretend like this part of my life doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
I think that's
and go back to like who I was before. It's like, nope, this is my reality now.
Yeah.
And if you're okay with that, I'm here.
Yeah, totally. And that was a big thing when I went back to work because we were breastfeeding and I was like, okay, I can kind of work 3 hours without nursing, but maybe she'll need me. And then I was like, what am I doing? I was like, Sam, if she needs me, bring her in. And I'm like, if I'm working with a client and they're going to be upset that while we're talking, I have a kid on the boob, they are not an ideal client.
Yeah.
Literally, like, I don't want their money.
Yeah.
And so just like weaving that in. And yeah, she's not like, I'm not talking to her and playing with her the whole call. That would be, we're not getting anything done. But yeah, like not trying to pretend that I'm not newly postpartum or, you know, like all of that. I just think there's such an opportunity to integrate.
So I don't want to get too much into this, but I love how you've kind of built your work around, like you mentioned, kind of how you cycled, kind of created your business around your cycle, all that stuff. Tell us a little bit about that because I find it really inspiring.
Oh, yeah. Well, again, necessity is the mother of invention. Like I've always had cramps and pretty intense pain and then always just like took all the drugs. And then with autoimmune, I was like, I think I need to stop taking Aleve and Advil and all this stuff. And so I kind of went cold turkey of just doing herbs. And then I felt like way more pain. I was like, shit, I can't show up for my clients in the way that I want to unmedicated. So, and I had a lot of privilege being my own biz owner. So I just started blocking off, like I'm pretty regular in my bleed. So I'd block off like and I actually still to this day, what I think will be day one of my bleed. So it's the day before, day after. So I have like a little 3-day buffer where I don't book clients or anything new. If I have I have a mastermind I run that's recurring and sometimes you just have the thing that you can't move, but I have it like literally just every 28 days on my calendar. And then if my cycle really changes, I'll adjust it. But like my whole team can see it. It's literally on there. It's like Abbi bleed window. And they know if we're mapping out a launch, it's like, do not make me record content on this day. It's not going to be the final. I mean, maybe it could be a final edit day, but I'm not actually, they're not allowed to assign me any deadlines on those days. It has to be like the day before or after. So it kind of creates, it's just like for me, I call it kind self-bossing, where it's like, I could, sometimes I'll have a bleed and I'll kind of be like, I kind of feel fine. And I'll work, but I'm not like
expected to.
Oh my God, I have to record like on camera podcasts. And I'm like, so that's been a huge thing around like launch strategy, what I expect of myself, how I attention and task manage me. And like, we'll just add a 3-day buffer. If there's a launch over a bleed, where like those days don't exist. They could exist for team, but not for me. And what I love also is that the reverse is true. Like I had a meeting last week with my marketing manager and she was like, Abbi, my period came early. I'm like so crampy. Are you open to rescheduling? And I was like, yes. And I was like, I love that she felt like she could ask me that, And so it's like creating the world I wish existed, at least in the microcosm of my biz. But yeah, that's kind of like a snapshot of how I
love that.
Cycle sync. And actually the opposite is true where when I'm ovulating,
you're like on.
I'm like, schedule everything. I'm like, record all the things. Because I can edit when I'm luteal. But I'm like, let's record everything when
Yeah. Because you have all this energy. I mean,
Totally.
that's how it works, you know? Like, we're not always in winter and we're not always in summer, at least as
women.
As women. So you touched on this before that you have inflammation and you have chronic pain.
Yeah.
Walk us through how it is to manage that and to kind of really take care of yourself, navigating chronic pain, navigating autoimmune, while also doing everything else, right?
Yeah.
Like the business, raising kids, all that stuff. Like, because some days your body just says no, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a wild ride. And again, I don't know parenthood without it. But something I feel sensitive is just like how I talk about it. And actually like with the podcast title, like I always tell Will I'm healing. So like if she tries to climb on me, because it's when I'm having a flare, it's my thumbs. And when it's really bad, it's my forearms, but they're kind of weak. And so she'll want to like flip on me or something. And instead of like, I find myself being like, my hands are hurt or my hands are injured or like, and instead saying, hey, sweetie, I remember I'm still healing my hands. Like I try to say things like that. So that's what she's hearing. And also that's what I'm hearing. But yeah, I mean, chronic health and motherhood is insane. I know, like it is insane. And yeah, I mean, it's been a wild ride. I mean, it's a huge part of why I don't feel available for making more babies, just because of concern around if it would progress, or just like because it's my arms, like momming a baby. Like it was so grueling for my arms. But I will say, kind of back to capacity and time and all of that, like just knowing what triggers me. And I don't always know what heals me. I think that's the forever question. But it feels cumulative, and prioritizing that. And I feel like I have such a big why. Like it's not just like, oh, I want to go get my hair done. It's like I need to sauna 3 days a week. Like I'm like really devoted to like practices that reduce inflammation so that I am not in pain, so that I can push the stroller and I can go do things with you. And it's like definitely present. Like Will knows about it. Like sometimes she'll say like your hands or things like that. And it's like, how do I, and I also think because I did pre-motherhood, I was in remission for 8 years. I had like a couple aches and pains, but like nothing, no like proper flare.
So you think the trauma of birth kind of triggered all that? Oh.
Yeah, and I'll never know again if it was trauma or was it surgery, was it antibiotics? Would that have done it? You know, it was just kind of the perfect storm. Sleep deprivation, I mean, it was like everything.
All of
Sleep deprivation, drugs, painkiller, all of it. But yeah, I was about 4 months postpartum, like a switch. One night I was like, oh, my hands kind of hurt. And the next morning I woke up and it's called tenosynovitis. It's nicknamed mom thumb, but it's like mamas get it because you go from doing nothing to suddenly 100 times a day having all this weight on your thumb. And it was just like debilitating pain. And it's still on my left hand. It's still just not quite healed. But I think, I don't want Will to think I'm broken. I don't want to think I'm broken.
And you don't want them to think that they're the reason why, right? Because it's like it has nothing to do with them. It's just
totally.
I mean, I got Hashimoto's after having kids, and it's like that's how my body reacted. You know, that's how it did its thing. You know, and we just have to be mindful of that. You know.
Yeah. Sometimes I think when I'm having a good day, I like to approach it as like the canary in the coal mine. Like when my hands are getting a bit sore, to actually say, because for me, it's nervous system. I've done the autoimmune diet. I'm on prescription right now. I'm on herbs. I do acupuncture. I do sauna. I do cold plunge. I do red light. I do CBD. Like I am on it. I'm just like committed to feeling better. And I can't say there's been a certain thing that I've done. It'd been like, this is immediate relief, except for sauna and cold plunge. If I cold plunge, it's like a painkiller. Really for me. But I have to do it with hot. If I do cold on its own, it hurts. But if I do hot, like hot water, cold water, that really helps. Knowing that actually my biggest trigger is stress has changed. It's both it's like fortified my commitment to self-care, but it also can make you feel a little like you're walking on eggshells, because what is parenthood if not being constantly triggered?
And the stress. I mean, the stress of all of it, right? Like, in an ideal world, we wouldn't have it, but we're always under stress in some capacity. You know?
Totally. And that's something that I love, like back in my yoga days, is they would talk about stress management. And like, we all want to reduce stress, but also it's like, it is a part of life, and healthy stress, like
is good.
Yeah. You're like excited and alive about your life. So how do we take out the trash, so to speak? You know, like and I think I'm like a big advocate for ritual and systematizing things and just saying, okay, I know I sauna 3 days a week, and that Will sees us doing that. You know, she's with it's clear glass and she'll just sit outside the door and be like chatting with us, you know, and it's like, I love that she sees that, and that like, I hope she grows up taking good care of her body. And, but I mean, it's wild. It's wild when, like I said the other day, you know, you listen to a podcast and they're like, it's like some single dude biohacker that's telling you 25 things to do that cost $10,000 and also, just take a week in Vienna and you'll be healed. And you're like, cool. Like that's the whole point. Like I remember early in my trauma, a friend was like, you just need to go do like an ayahuasca weekend. And I was like, I have a 90-minute tether from my child. I don't have a 2-day tether. Like, and also I'm breastfeeding. I can, like, just like the level of disconnect. I was like, if I could do that, I wouldn't have the problem to begin with if I had the capacity, you know? Totally. And so I think it's kind of back to that, not microdosing psilocybin, but like microdosing the pleasure, microdosing the self-care. And for me, it is the 20-minute sauna. It's like, that is something I can do. And I think it's just experimenting with what moves the needle, you know? And sometimes I really do think it's a blessing that when I have a flare, I feel it. So it's not this abstract thing that I have to wait for labs to know. It's like I know immediately. And so to me, it always comes back to intuition and like both the things that I know that make me feel good, make me feel better, but also the things that are dysregulating. And just like I want to model for Willa, it's like that's so important to me and all the things I've lived through and just the importance of trusting your gut and knowing what matters to you.
Yeah. You know, in my culture, we always talk about like you never wake up a sleeping mama.
Oh, I love that.
You know, and it's like just how much like there's a sacredness around like, you know, if a mama's sleeping, that means she really needs it, right? Like she's gotten to that point where she's so exhausted, she needs to rest. And I just don't feel we have that, like we don't honor, you know, rest in general, right? And I feel like I know my Hashimoto's like it gets worse when I don't rest, you know, when I don't get like really good rest, when I get interrupted, you know, rest or I sleep late or whatever. And it's like it's the foundation. Like we're not even talking about, you know, going to a 2-day retreat. We're talking about like fundamental, like, you know, building the foundation of the house. It's like if you don't have rest, if you don't you're not well hydrated, like there's key things that you need to be able to build on, you know, becoming healthy and be able to give to everything in your life, you know, your kids, your work, your all of that. And we don't talk about that enough, you know, like we live in this hyper-capitalist society that just is like our value is, you know, really it's like how productive we are, right? Like it kind of depends on how productive we are. And these bodies are treated almost like a machine, right?
Yeah, like an afterthought.
They never, you know, and I mean, that's why we have so many people that are sick and hurting, right? Because there's no sacredness, there's no honoring of this body and everything that it does every day.
Yeah, and I've read so many books about autoimmune and just like gone so deep in that world. And I think I know autoimmune tends to statistically strike women more than men. And also like all of my friends that have I don't have any like super chill friends that have autoimmune that don't have hobbies or kids or a business, like, you know, just the real cough. Like all of my friends with autoimmune are like, we're like doers and movers and dreamers. And, you know, it's like, there's something about that. And I wonder if we're the people that wouldn't otherwise take care of ourselves. And sometimes I think what's been useful for me is because, you know, autoimmune, literally, it's like the body's attacking itself. And it's easy to be like, oh my gosh, this is like self-harm. Like, why is my body doing this? And again, not here saying that, trying to discredit the intensity of autoimmune, and it can be life-changing, and of course, but also like when I look at it as my body whispering to me and saying, hey babe, like I need you, that's when I'm able to reel it in and keep it from going to a really big flare. But I just remember like when my arms were so bad, I would just like pop an ice pack on and keep going. And it was like, I probably needed a nap. I probably needed a hug, you know, but it's like, if we're able...
the hug thing, I think we don't get enough. Like just touch. That touch. Yeah.
I know. And it's like whether you have autoimmune or not, but like if you have some kind of health condition or any symptom, to actually stop and say, what if this was actually in service of my healing? What if this was in service? And like when I've flipped the script in that way, instead of like, this is something broken, I need to cut it out, fix it, burn it out, like that kind of like
aggressive, like
but actually realizing like it's coming from within. Like, and there are like, of course, so many things, you know, I mean, I've diet and lifestyle, a lot of it that's kind of turned the dial down on the flares for me, but just that like self-care and self-love piece, and just like I actually deserve to rest for a minute. Like I'm a human being on the planet, I'm allowed to feel tired.
You know,
I'm
allowed to feel tired, and I have to nurture myself too. I think that's the part that gets forgotten pretty easily when you have kids, you know, like I need to prioritize taking my vitamins, getting as much rest as I can, knowing that there's kids that could wake you up at any point. But like prioritizing all that, you know, is becomes so important. You know, the movement. I've gone years. You know, now my eldest are 8, but I've gone years where I haven't done movement. You know, I've kind of fallen off that wagon, and it like has such huge implications.
Totally, into your mental health.
All of it.
It's like a 40-minute walk, you're
Yeah.
like the endorphins, you're just like, I'm
Yeah.
on top of the world. Well, and that's another thing, like, so Willa, like we co-sleep and she loves mornings. And when we were still nursing, it was like she'd wake up and she'd want to snug and nurse. And even, we nursed a long time. So it was like, she wasn't hungry. I mean, it was like, girl's going to
was
go
just
have like
comfort.
sausage and avocado. Like if I leave, she is not starving. But she would always want to like snuggle and nurse. And I love classes. And so it's like, once the world kind of opened up again, I was like, I really want to go. And it was kind of the only time I could go was morning. And I had so much guilt about like sneaking out to go to the gym because Will would cry. And, she was never like, oh, I'm so glad you're leaving, Mom. Go take care of your body. She was just like, and even though I'd tell her the night before and all of it, but it was just so hard. And I remember thinking like, should I not do it? Should I try to work out from home? Should I change it? And then I was like, I am a better mom when I do this.
Oh,
when I come home.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm a different person. I'm happier. I feel lit up. And also she's growing up in a culture witnessing people that are like, and I specifically, the way I talk about it, I always say, I'm going to go take care of my body. I'm going to go exercise. I'm not like, I'm going to the gym. I'm like, I get to go move my body. Oh, I'm so excited. I get to go do whatever I'm doing.
Yeah.
So that she's like,
Totally.
that feels important to me.
I talk about it all the time too
Yeah.
with the kids. Whenever like sometimes, my youngest will like go, no, don't go or whatever. And I'll be like, don't you want Mama's body to be strong?
Yeah.
Mama wants to be strong. And if I'm strong, I could take care of you and I could take care of all this stuff. And it's like, we want Mama's body to be strong. Don't you want? She's like, yeah, I want Mama's body to be strong. So like, this is why I'm doing it, because I want to be around like 40 years from now, It's like, and once they understand that, like even if they need you, they get it. They get it.
Totally.
There's a lot of conversation around like either you're, you can't really be devoted to being a work, like it's either your babies or it's your work, right? Like it's like you have to choose, like what's the priority. And I feel you found a way to kind of integrate both. Can you tell us about like how you've made that happen? And, because it doesn't seem so easy for a lot of people. I think it seems like, I think a lot of people feel torn too. Like they go back to work and then, as we talked about, they're expected to be who they once were. And then they're torn and they don't want to leave their baby. Or some people want to leave and they just want to get back to who they once were. And, but then some people are torn and feel like maybe they can only do one or the other really well. How do we integrate? Like if we're ambitious women, creative women who want to do a lot in the world. How do we integrate being able to show up and be the parents we want to be and also lead businesses and be entrepreneurs? And also, I feel like model for our kids ways of being able to like still do things that light us up while also parenting them. And those things are not mutually exclusive,
Yeah.
So I would love to hear you talk about that.
I feel like it's similar to the gym thing where I hope that she's growing up like, oh, my mom loves her work. Like she never hears us saying, oh, gotta go to work. We're like, oh, we have a call with da-da-da. Or like, we're doing a thing. And we're humans. Of course, there's a day that you have a headache or whatever. But in general, like, I want her to grow up being like, your work is something that you love and that you feel expressed through. And it's interesting. My acupuncturist, I was talking to her a couple years back and kind of talking about, I was like, going to go on a retreat, like a business retreat. It would be my first time away from Willa. And I was grappling with, should I go? Should I not? It was like 4 days. It was in the US, but still, it was like, we co-sleep. It was like, is she going to be okay? And I love, my acupuncturist was like, Abbi, she's like, Will chose you as her mom because you're like the wild, juicy entrepreneur travel girl. She's like, she's been waiting for you to like remember who you are. And because like before Willa, I was like in a different country, like every other month. I led retreat. Like we had a very international life. And then, again, we'll never know what it's like with new baby outside of a pandemic, but we definitely weren't traveling the first couple years of Will's life. And so then I kind of like forgot that familiarity of it, but I was like, oh, I love that idea. I love that idea of Will choosing us because of what we love. And that I love dancing and I love traveling and I love working. And like I said earlier, like I went back to work very much very privileged in that. Of course, we liked the money, but it wasn't like I had to. And then just, it was like the biggest exhale to be there and be in this familiar space. And, I've had ups and downs, and I shared with you like a year and a half ago, I had like a really hard season of biz where I was like, I'm literally paying my team and not me and a babysitter. Like, what am I doing? Like, and I was like, is this like is the universe trying to tell me that like, actually I should be a stay-at-home mom? And like, what should I do? And I remember even talking to Sam about it. Like, should I just like, am I forcing it? Like, should I not? And he was like, I'm like, do you wish I was just a stay-at-home mom? Not just, because listen, that's the hardest job on the planet. The planet.
I know, we don't give enough credit to stay-at-home moms and how hard.
And there have been studies on like cortisol levels of someone like a lawyer. They've tested like a full, lawyer in court and a mama with toddlers. Yeah. Guess who has higher cortisol? Yeah, I mean, like, that shit is proven. This is not just like a metaphor.
All the reverence for mamas who mother all day long.
Totally. And he was like, I love that you work. Like, he's like, I love it. I think it's sexy. I think it's amazing. You're empowered. Will's growing up with this fierce mom. I was like, okay, thank you. I needed to hear that. Thank you. And I just think like she gets, and whatever she wants to do, but that like, I hope that she's going to grow up seeing parents that are like creatively expressed, professionally expressed. And, Sam and I rely on each other in such different ways. When we met, we joked that I was his sugar mama because he was in grad school and I paid for everything, and then, then when Will was born, he kind of stepped in while I wasn't working. And so it's like, it ebbs and flows. But, I know for me, like, so I grew up homeschooling. And so I've always had this dream of homeschooling, and it's kind of like that, the maiden versus the mother, like, that saying, like, I was the best mom before I had kids. And just this idea of romanticizing homeschooling. And I had such a great upbringing, and my whole family, we loved it. It was such a positive experience. And then also recognizing that we're different people.
You were
my family of origin, my sibs and I.
Yeah, you were homeschooled.
Yeah, we were all homeschooled. So kind of, and it's interesting how you just want to fill the shoes you were given. It's like if we don't question how we parent, how we work, how we eat, how all the things, what we believe, we're just going to kind of do what we see our community doing, because that's how humans are. We're pack animals. And it's like to actually pause and say, does this work for me? It's like I have this ideal, and who knows, maybe we'll homeschool in 6 months. But I have this ideal, but also I'm like, what would that ask of me? Who would I become? Because I think I could do it. Like, I feel confident, I did it on the other side, so I know the outcome. But I'm like, I actually really like my work. And I think like, I'm like, I could put her in school like 2 days a week, and then I could take client calls on just those days. And then I'm like, but then there's not even a blink for the orthodontist or a massage or a grocery run. And I was like, I actually think it's working. Like, Will loves her school. We're having a great time. And this is kind of a homeschool tangent, but I grew up working at for 11 years, I worked at a homeschool summer camp, and there were kids that would go there that went to public school, but they identified as homeschoolers and unschoolers because their parents were on board. And if they ever wanted to quote unquote drop out, the parents were like, cool. Yeah, you can go to school, you can homeschool, whatever you want. And they chose to go to school. And I just feel like that autonomy and that choice, because school in our country is compulsory. And so to have a parent that's like on board with some type of self-directed education gave them the choice to feel like there was consent in their education. And so I've thought about that with Willa. I'm like, no matter where she goes, like, I know we have such shared values on this, that like, we're going to be like, girl, what makes you happy? Where do you want to be? You know what I mean? And and I think that's just, again, permission to be where you are. And that, like, the maiden was like an unschooling mom wearing overalls in a field, like, but also speaking at conferences and like meeting clients. It's like, girl, there's only so many hours in the day. So I think a lot of it is, permission to change, permission to find your own path, and it's a journey, not a destination, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So it's in the everyday. It's in the like everyday and in all the little moments, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, what can I do now? And what kind of choice can I make now that will like lead me to where I want to go?
Yeah. And I mean, I did change like my hours a lot once she started preschool. Like, I only work when she's at school, and And that informed a lot of things. Like I had to double my team because I was like, okay, if I'm working 20 hours a week and I want to still deliver at a certain caliber, like who's going to help me? And guess what that means? We're doubling our prices. You know, there were a lot of things that changed. That price raises used to kind of just be like a random, like not an ego thing, but just sort of like, oh, I could charge more, so I will. And now it's like so based on, I feel like motherhood has really given me confidence around that because I'm like, this is what I got. This is what I got. This is my time. These are the offers. This is how we're doing it. And it's given me a lot of confidence around like the actual biz model that I'm shaping. And something I talk about a lot is like, how do we mother-proof our business? You know, like I cycle sync, but also it's like, how do we create systems and team and client expectations that are not divorced from the reality of being a mama? Yeah.
That's fascinating, right? Because it's like we're almost creating the system that doesn't exist, right? Like, because that system, like we're in these cultures that expect us to be always on, hyper productive, like feeding the machine. And it's like, how do we create systems that work for us and still allow us to, do all the work we want to do in the world, which is great work, right? I think that's the, that's the daily work. Abbi, is there anything that you feel that we haven't covered that you really feel called to share?
Maybe we've spoken about intuition, but just this piece of the story, which is that even though, the theme today of motherhood and matrescence and parenthood and all of this, like, even though you're going to do all these things you've never done before, there is an inner knowing. And I think that's the thing that I've shared with you some traumas I've had around having that intuitive hit, like literal hair on the back of my neck standing up. And when my body wants to go left and I go right, that kind of moment. And I just think whether we're talking about parenthood or running a business or any of these things, it's like we all have our intuition. And I just think it's the most important thing. And I think it's very conceptual. It's very abstract. Like it can be hard to talk about or understand or teach or honor. But I feel like getting in relationship with listening to what we want is huge, especially as women, especially as women. And I tell clients, like, if you're like, how do I even start? Starting like, do you know Keisha Urbaniak? I love her desire list. Like just starting with like writing what you want every day, and getting in the habit of that. Because I think, again, biz, mamahood, all of it, like when I don't think it's hard to get what you want in life. I think the really hard thing is knowing what we want.
Knowing, yeah. The knowing. Yeah, I'm sure you've dealt with this and I've dealt with this, how to not say yes, say, for example, to a client, right? Like how to not say yes just because it's a client and it's bringing in money. And it's how to not say yes when you're literally, your body's telling you, this is probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
Right? And that's a big one because society says you should take all the work that comes in. And it's like, how do you go, no, that doesn't feel right. That feels like it's going to burn everybody out. This feels like this person doesn't value what we do. And where's that line? Because you also want to have a sustainable business.
Totally.
Right? So it's that, like, I feel for me, at least, it's like this constant daily, like, what's the right partnership? What's the right client? What's the right, how do we work with people who value what we do and feel like real partners or feel like real, instead of like, enter into relationships that maybe might be abusive or, not right or for a million reasons.
Yeah. And I think that's when you have a relationship with your intuition, those decisions are easier. I think, like, honestly, my like, to wrap this all up is you already know enough. You already know enough. Like my kiddo's in a preschool, we're researching other schools because I'm like, oh, I need to move her. And the teacher's like, I'm actually having a couple kids that are going to stay that are like kindergarten age and I'm going to kind of turn up the academics and da-da-da. And my body was just like, yes. But I didn't say yes because I was like, oh, it's too easy. So I was like, oh, I need to research all these schools. I'm like paying and applying to all these schools. And I was like applying to this amazing school and I was sobbing while I was doing it. And I was like, whoa, I need to stop. Wow, what is this about? And then I asked Will, like, where do you want to go? And it's the school she's already at. Like, I was like, do you want to go? Do you want to stay there? She's like, yep. I was like, oh, can be easy. And I think when we follow our intuition, like things flow more easily.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you relate to this, but I think that I will say I am currently working on a habit around not asking for permission about how to raise my kid, or if we can co-sleep, or which school she goes to, or if I can raise my rates, or if I can do the thing. It's like, who are we asking permission from? Sometimes I feel like that's my job, actually, because I work with leaders and they are the one making the decision. And sometimes I feel like they come to me and I'm like, they like tell me an idea they have and I'm like, okay, so you're going to do it? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, do you feel like you need permission to do the thing?
Wow.
And they're like, yeah.
Wow.
I'm like, who do you need permission from? You know, and usually just even that question, it dissolves it. They're like, just kidding, I'm doing the thing, thank you. But I feel like I still do that. I still like, you know, it's like you Google search for the answer that you already have within. And so I think that's that. I haven't even really like clarified this until this moment, but I think it's like you already know enough.
Yeah.
You know enough to make the decision.
Well, I feel we're so socialized to look out.
Yeah.
We're so, especially as women,
Yeah.
we're so socialized to look out.
Yeah.
And we're not told about the value of looking in. You know, it's all about the external. And there's so much power in going inwards, you know, because it is all in there. Like we know how to parent our kids. We know how to make the decisions for our business. We know all that, but it's just like whatever people tell us, or you know, how we're swayed in different ways, or what society says, or all that stuff. And how to, I mean, I felt when I was pregnant with my twin girls, that was like such a huge, because there was so much noise. There was so many people telling me what they thought, you know, especially like, oh, you know, twins are high risk, this, that, like, this is how you should birth. You have to have a medicated birth. Like, I was told all the things that other people told me I should do. And I was like, no. No. Like, I feel so strong in my body. I've been doing like literally yoga throughout this entire pregnancy. And I feel that started to really refine like that intuition and going inward, which hadn't happened before that point. You know, it was like I was much more easily swayed before that. You know, where somebody's like, no, you should do it this way. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe I should do it that way. But like now it's like, nope.
Yeah. Do you think they gave you, like, do you think that was from them? Do you think it was the initiation of being pregnant? Like, where do you think you honed that skill?
I do, because I think, I mean, I could talk for an hour about all the lessons I've learned from my kids, but I do feel I had some miscarriages before having my twins, and I feel like they came here to teach me everything, like literally everything that I really needed to learn. Yeah, they came here to teach me so much, and it's like, it's been such a gift. I mean, now I have 3, but it's like, it's been such a gift to see what each one of them is here to teach me. And I listen, you know, I listen, you know, like sometimes I'm like, okay, I have an idea of what I want them to learn, but then they, you know, say something and I'm like, oh, okay.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. No, like the other day, my youngest, you know, I was like, you know, I wake him up in the morning and it's like I put the music on. And, you know, I was like, you know, it's time to get up and, you know, it's time to go to school. And I think I said this yesterday to Kate too. I said, you know, it's time to get up. It's time to go to school. And Mila said, goddesses don't go to school.
Oh my God.
And I said, yeah.
You're like, touche.
They don't. They don't. They actually don't. So I don't know why I'm sending you to school right now. You know, just that also that confidence, you know, that confidence of like, I'm here to be a goddess. And that is the way it should be. And I'm like, that's amazing.
That is incredible.
You know? So it's also just like really picking up on all those lessons that they give us, that they're here to teach us, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel that alone just made me go, okay, I got to slow down. You know, here I am trying to get them and move and let's get out the door. And it's like, no, I got to maybe snuggle with her for 5 minutes because she's not ready. You know, that's what she's telling me. Like, you know, goddesses are not ready to go to school, you know? So
I love that. And I love that she and they feel comfortable saying that to you. Do you know what I mean? Because that means that they also feel respect, like you're going to respect and listen to what they're saying.
Yeah.
The fact that they're even saying that, like, oh, mom's going to get this. Do you know what I mean? They're like, mom's going to, and like, they knew that you were going to say, yeah, you're right. You're right. Let's snuggle.
Yeah.
I love that.
So
So sweet. I love them.
thank you, Abbi.
Oh,
so
thank you.
sweet to spend time with you.
So fun. I love you.
I love you too.
If you enjoyed this conversation, please like, subscribe, and share with a friend. You can connect with Into Healing on TikTok and Instagram for more inspirational and behind-the-scenes content, and visit our website, intohealing.com, for transcripts and other goodies. Thank you for joining us.